Good afternoon, Rob. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you, Cori.
Can you tell us who you are and what your current position is?
My name is Robin Hunter. I go by Rob, and I'm a principal in elementary, a principal in Simi Valley Unified School District,
All
a
right.
Title I school.
All right, so we know your last name is Hunter, and this conference, this bold conference, we're doing some lesson remixes using your mother's 7-step lesson plan, is what we're hearing. How do you feel about that, or a reaction to that?
Well, basically, Madeline spent the last probably 10 years of her life trying to undo the damage that was caused by people calling it a 7-step lesson plan. She was the principal of the University Elementary School, the lab school over UCLA, and the lab school did one whole group of student teachers out of the education department at UCLA. Other groups of student teachers were in schools out in LA, etc. But Team L was the group that went to the lab school, learned about teaching. And Doug Russell, who was a teacher there, who is still a fantastic educator, came to Madeline, and he was in charge of the student teaching, and he came to her and said, these kids really don't have a basis for how to plan instruction. They're kind of all over the place. And so Madeline told him, well, put some ideas down on what you think and then bring them back and we'll talk about it. So Doug put down some ideas. And what he came up with is that any instructional episode basically has a readiness phase, somewhat of an informational phase, and then an assessment phase. And so he and Madeline sat down together and talked about it a little more. And then Madeline roughed out the article of elements to consider in planning instruction. It was never supposed to be 7 steps. It wasn't steps at all, because the steps imply a logical order, first this, then this, etc. It was to be a guide of planning of which of these elements do we need to include or exclude by thinking about it, and not just to have a blank card that we do this for every lesson. And in the readiness phase, they talked about, okay, how can we get kids, well, first of all, what's the objective? What are you trying to accomplish in this lesson? Secondly, how do we get kids mentally focused in that direction, etc. Then you have an informational phase, which was information. Where's information coming from? What information do they need? Is there an order of the information? What's the best source of the information, etc. And then there was a phase of modeling. Do the kids need to see it? How are they going to see it demonstrated, or a right brain assist in terms of having them access the information? And then some sort of an assessment phase of how well are they understanding it, which where you get the checking for understanding guided practice in a pin practice. And they implemented it in Team L, where it went through and taught student teachers, when you're planning instruction, here's some things to think about while you're planning it. And Madeline wrote an article with Doug on it, and it got published, and people all over the country who had every great intention, I'm sure, but not very much instructional understanding, thought, oh my gosh, what a great thing. 7 steps, we can evaluate every lesson there was ever existed with these 7 elements. And they went around, and teachers were great that had all elements in it and were dinged if they left something out, regardless of whether it should have been left out or not. It was never considered to be a format of a lesson. It was to be elements to think about. They don't all occur in that order. They occur, reoccur, they cycle, they go back and forth. And most creative lessons involve a lot of the elements with, in various sequences, etc. It's not a linear progression. You can have discovery learning. Well, where's the information coming? It's coming from a guided set of activities where the kids are going to discover some generalizations about whatever topic they have. You have cooperative learning. The information is coming from other students, or students are putting their information together. It doesn't come always from the teacher or from a book or from film or whatever. So it was been bastardized over the course of a long period of time, and the thing people still call it 7 steps of instruction. And kids we get and student teachers come into the school, oh yeah, they've heard about those 7 steps, and they're supposed to plan their lessons according to the 7 steps. And you have to basically undo everything to get them to be creative, artistic deliverers of science. And that's where it's all coming from.
All right.
So I wish you guys well in looking at it in a refreshed pair of eyes, and looking at it as a really good instructional tool, or a thinking tool, or planning tool, not a linear sequence of instruction.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.